get easier anytime.
A lot happening there, yeah. So maybe just briefly how the project came to be.
So it started off as a stage play about 7 years ago. I would say the genesis of it was when my dad, my own father, got sick. When I was 15 years old, we grew up outside of Buffalo, very blue collar. He was a steel plant worker, welder, just truck driver, that type of guy, the pillar of our family and definitely the pillar of our community. And so when he got sick and he battled cancer for 5 years, and the whittling away and humiliation and just all the feelings that was felt by him, and that's definitely the genesis of this story. And so in a way it's an homage to my own dad, to tell his story and his fears, and to discuss end-of-life decisions, and to ultimately ask questions to who gets to decide how and when and where and all that stuff, whose right is it to have those, to make those decisions.
So you wrote it as a play initially, and it was produced, yes, Dorset Theater, is that right? No? There was some...
We had a reading at Dorset Theater with
Dorset,
Dina.
Yeah.
We also were at the Berkshire Theater Group, Theater Festival. We had a few readings in New York City.
Yeah, we did many readings, and we were at Dorset for 5 days, I think, and Dina and Janice helped us work on the play, and it was constantly being developed over a period of time and changed pretty significantly from the play that was the original version of the play I wrote. Yeah, I read, not wrote.
So for the screenplay, you took the play, adapted it, and developed the additional family, the farming family, as part of the screenplay.
Yes, when it was just a play, it was a three-hander, one setting in the kitchen, Barry, Cora, and Joey. And when I expanded it for film, for the screen, I felt that it was very important to expand upon Joey and his family and his complications, because in the screen, or in the theater piece, we only heard about them peripherally from Joey, but to actually see what he was going for, I felt it was important to understand, to give Cora a reason to make the decision ultimately not to poison herself and give her a reason to live. So, Karen and I have had lots of conversations over the years about expanding upon that family, and if that was the right decision, so that was ultimately my goal.
Cool. And tell me, in terms of the production, this was your second feature film? What did you learn from this film that you didn't know before? After one part?
A lot. Wow. Budget. It's never enough money. Never enough days in the week. I mean, the good things that I learned was being shepherded and mentored by Karen, by Bill Sadler, by this amazing crew of people who just know so much more than I do. And to be taken under their wing and just to shoot faster, shoot more efficiently so that you're getting the shots done. And we were constantly in communication if this didn't feel right for Karen's character, for Cora, or for Bill, or whatever. And so there was that constant negotiation and collaboration of what was best for the story, and putting your own ego aside. Story, substance always comes before form, and so I think those were the biggest things that I learned on the shoot.
How do you like to work with actors, and how do you see, your relationship with them, and what you're able to achieve, what you want to achieve, and how do you achieve it?
I think it's exactly what I just said. It's a living, breathing thing. You wake up every morning and everyone's in their own mental headspace that day with their own character, with their own visions, and so it's all about communication. You have to be ready every single day to communicate with people and to trust one another that the best decision on that day is going to be made, especially when you're doing an independent film, when you have like no money and no time and everyone's killing themselves because they believe in something so much. So it's really about active listening, responding with love and respect to one another, even if there are times that you may disagree. So I really, when I'm working with actors, especially just people that have done, Karen and Bill, you've done like, a zillion great films, I'm gonna listen to you even though I don't, agree with you maybe on that day, but I'm like, oh, she was great. So it's that beautiful back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
On working with Sarah?
Yeah, sure.
Well, we had such a long time of knowing each other, and that was really a really very positive thing, because we had worked on the play together, and when she had written a new version of it, I was one of the first people she would give it to for me to take a look at it. And I had helped to bring some people into the project, so there was already this incredible foundation of trust and respect between us, which I think was an essential part of doing this. And there were times where, where I had a really strong feeling about something needing to happen or something needing to not happen in the script. And there were, a few times where we were in complete disagreement and we had to just kind of work it out, which we did very quickly. And sometimes it was really a matter of just taking, that's what you feel like you don't have on an indie film, is the time to really think something through that, that you just haven't until you encounter the moment, until you're there playing the scene. There are sometimes things that you just haven't considered or haven't really, suddenly something just doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel fully developed, it doesn't feel like you're moving in the right direction. And I think when there's trust between an actor and a director, it's always possible to be honest with each other about those things. And it's not always the easy road, but it is definitely the most creative and positive road, because if you push through something that doesn't feel true or doesn't feel, that it's gonna, you don't know what to do to make
it
it
feel authentic.
Yeah.
If it's not authentic to you as the actor, then it's like you're gonna play it, you're gonna be forced to play it a certain way that doesn't feel right to you.
Yeah, and there's just always moments that, that you're looking for, you get 3/4 of the way into the film and you're so deep into the heart and the soul of the characters that you feel like you have this really clear sense of where it's going and what works. And hopefully, you get all on the same page, which, 95% of the time we were all on the same page. And then every once in a while, for both Bill and I, there were moments that we just had to say, wait, this doesn't ring true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, every time my wife says to me, 95% of the time, I say 5% of 24 hours is how much time. Anyway, just joking. How did Bill Sadler come to the project?
Bill Sadler, well, the actor that had worked with us through most of the 6 years was Jeff DeMunn, who is a dear friend of mine, and I've directed him in the theater and I directed him in a film, and I just think he's just the most delightful actor, and he joined up with us very early on and was involved in many of the workshop and readings that we did. But when the timing came for Sarah to say, this is when we want to shoot the film, Jeff is on a television show called Billions, and he was not available. He couldn't do it. So we reached out to another actor who I had worked with, who I thought might be quite wonderful in the role, and he wasn't available either, but he said, you know, he had read the script and he said, I think who should play this part is Bill Sadler. And I had met Bill Sadler a number of years before. I'd never worked with him, but we worked on a project where we weren't any scenes together. But we'd sat across the table having lunch one day, and I had a wonderful conversation with him. And so I thought, and I was left with a really, really good sense of him as a lovely person. So Sarah and I both talked about that, and she looked him up a little and looked at some of his work, and so we sent him the script, and he was interested, and we brought him. The three of us got together and read through the script together and talked through every scene, and he joined forces with us.
Crazy like kismet-y thing, and you know, so it's about my dad, like I said, and I grew up outside of Buffalo in farm country, and both Jeff DeMunn is from Buffalo, crazily, and Bill Sadler is also from Buffalo, and he worked at the same steel plant, Buffalo Steel, that my dad worked at like 10 years prior. So it's like, what, you know, like, it's weird. But I felt, suffice it to say, I felt at home with both actors, and Bill was just, he was so exceptional to work with.
You guys are great together. Really, there's nice chemistry there.
Yeah, we had a lovely time working together.
Yeah.
We really did.
Yeah, no, the performances are quite good. Questions from the audience? Yeah.
How did you cast the brothers?
So the young man that plays Joey, his name is Marlon Kihihe. This was actually technically his second feature film that he's ever done. The other one was much more indie film, but this, so I would say that this was like his first serious feature film. And I had just kind of put the word out to theater friends of mine for possible people that would be just really good and would be a nice balance to Karen and Bill. And I got about 10 audition tapes, and Marlon's was the first one that I saw, and everybody was super that audition, but he just like ruined it. You know, he was just, I asked him to do 2 sides, 2 scenes, and he just killed it. And Alex Flores, who's from, he's based in LA, we just had a mutual friend as well who suggested he would be great. And yet, you know, they balanced each other extremely well. You could see physicality. The one brother is very strong. He's doing all the hard labor at work. The other one's a little thinner. So I think it played into that nicely. Word of mouth.
Mm-hmm. Did you use a casting director? No? So.
Too much money. Next film.
Huh?
The next film.
Next film. I might know somebody that would work for you fairly cheaply. Talk to me about it. Casting directors are expensive. But there are a couple in New York that are indie friendly.
We'll talk.
Yeah, sure. Other questions from the audience at all? Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say how beautiful film it is. And I love getting to know the whole world and that other family. But I just was really curious, you know, because it was done so well and so believably, but the physical, sensory work,
So the comment is that the disease, the illness played well. I'm wondering how that was achieved.
I think Karen and Bill were ready to kill me a week prior to shooting, because I'm like, oh, by the way, Bill has an LVAD machine, which is, you know, something that goes into his heart, and you're like, oh, really? Okay.
It's huge.
Surprise. But my mom is a registered nurse, and she was helping me along with the discoloration of the blue fingers and the lips, and just the bloating of the lower belly and his feet. And we didn't want to, I was hoping not to be too overindulgent about that, but to suggest what they were living with. And even though we don't really see the LVAD too much in the movie, it was just the suggestion of wires. And we had that one scene where Bill had his shirt off, and there was just the faintest scar right here, and there was, you know, the patches to suggest that he had gone through surgery for this thing, which we never really discussed. But yeah, it's mostly my mom. She really helped me get into the details of everything.
Yeah, and then Bill just embraced it. Bill has gone through some medical issues in his life in the last few years. So, you know, for him, it was really meaningful for him to just allow a lot of his own fears and a lot of his own, you know, struggle with those things, to just bring all that to the table. And I think that's why it doesn't feel like he's working for it. He's really just there being with a lot of things that were already serious. I mean, he doesn't have any of the specific issues of the character, but he had a lot of the core, you know, he's of that age where he's starting to really experience like himself as, you know, fragile.
And that scene where some people gasped at, it's the scene where this is the wedding ring, right? Where his wedding ring slips off. That was completely Bill's idea to do something like that, and it's, you know, he's losing weight at the same time he's losing Cora, and so it, you know, I'm so happy that it reads so strongly.
Yeah. Nice moment, yeah, absolutely. How many days did you have to shoot?
We shot 24 days, kept it under 10 hours a day except the last day, but 24 days, 6 days a week, 4 weeks.
And the next steps for the film?
We are continuing to go to film festivals. We are hoping to find distribution. We've had some inquiries thus far, and so we're just hoping to find a home for it. But we want to really travel with it and take it all over the country. So there's a number of film festivals that we're going to be going to coming up all over the place.
Great.
Yeah.
Any other questions? One more. Yes.
Karen, I'm just wondering for you how it is to see yourself, you know, in a part that you've done, and whether you're watching it going, oh gosh, I should have done this, or this was really great, or just how that feels.
It's always really, really hard. It's a bit torturous for me. Not so much in the sense, it's interesting, as I get older, not so much in the sense of like acting choices that I made or didn't make, or you know, ways that something was edited. I mean, the torture, I suppose, is just, you know, seeing myself on screen. It's not a very delightful experience for me. Not that it ever was in particular, but I think as I get older, it gets really more like, ay, 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 you know, like, did you really have to shoot my face from that angle? Or, you know, like, sometimes I'm like sinking down into the chair. And I try to really like work on that aspect, you know, because I mean, you know, I try to not have carry a lot of vanity into it all. And yet, it's very hard to have no vanity. And so, you know, sometimes I just think, oh my God, you know, do I really look like that? I mean, there's some angles. I know Rick Sands, the cinematographer, very well. And there's some shots he did on my face that I could like put my hands around his neck for, and you know, but I just have to, you know, you just breathe and you just say, you know, this is, you know, I'm 70, I'm a 70-year-old woman, and you know, I'm aging in whatever way I'm aging, and these new digital cameras are nobody's friend, particularly as you get older. And, you know, I mean, the only other option, I guess, is to just stop working in film and just call it a day. And I'll do that at some point, somewhere along the line, when it becomes too unbearable to look at myself on film. But, I don't know.
I think there are some stunning shots of you, absolutely. And this-
Stunning in
there you
both
go.
directions.
No, it's interesting. I mean, I think, you know, I mean, every actor, I mean, I said the other night with Maggie Gyllenhaal, I mean, one of the goals is to have 50 faces of the character, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, there are moments, yeah, where the character is worn. And
Ruined, yeah.
but there are also moments where the character is strong and present. And, I think we do get a lot of that in there. And some of those shots, sort of some of the medium shots in like a blue light, I mean, they're just very nice. I would print some of them and put them. Every time I see a cell phone camera, I just say, well, you know, right. My whole deal was to stop being photographed, period, you know, at like the age of 50, you know, and just say the hell with it, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, back in the days before there were photographs, I mean, I just made a movie about Ethan Allen. There are no photographs of Ethan Allen, so it's sort of, I sometimes think it'd be nice to be in that era. Just have a painting of yourself.
Yes, right. Anything that doesn't age.
Okay, well,
Looks
okay.
magnificent in every scene.
Yes, thank you. There are a number of actresses you couldn't even ask that question to, so we should be very grateful. I mean, Karen has, you know, made herself so available to this film festival, to independent filmmakers. And we are very grateful, and I know Sarah is likely, and you've given so many opportunities to young filmmakers. It's fabulous. You're in the forefront of actresses working in independent film and continuing to help it make happen. So, thank you. Congratulations to you, Sarah. Good luck with it.